My name is Carmen. I run a global collective called Hyphen Labs. We're located all over the world, and we work with women from all backgrounds to try to bring kind of underrepresented stories to the main world stage. So our recent project is called NeuroSpeculative AfroFeminism. It was developed by myself and my team, my best friend from college. We were in New York this summer, and the week after the Philandro, Castile, and Alton Sterling murders, we found that there really weren't spaces where we could talk about how we were feeling. And so we decided to take some self-care days and go up to northern New York. But Ashley, got some sunscreen, and she's a black woman. I'm Latina, and our other partner is Turkish, and Nitzan is Israeli. She put on sunscreen, and it left a white residue, and it made it so that she wasn't able to go outside because she looked really weird. She looked like gray purple, and then, but then we couldn't stay inside. So what could we do? So we decided to create a line of products, virtual reality experience, and then scientific research that all look at through a lens of Black women's culture and address ideas of surveillance, security, technology, privacy, and the future. So the first roster of products that we came up with are, I'm going to talk about right now, and then we wanted to create a VR experience that could put you into our minds. One of the really cool things that I find with VR is that you have a portal through somebody's eyeballs into their brains, and you do get to submit to whatever it is that they want you to see. And you also have, there's a lot of people talking about empathy, but also presence. And it gives you the alternative or the option to be an active participant rather than a passive viewer, which is normally how people engage with kind of 2D art. The last part is the scientific research. Ashley's a cell and molecular biologist. I'm an engineer. Edje and Nitzan are architects and game designers. And we found a huge problem when we started this project where we couldn't even buy black avatars because they were so low had such a low polygon count and were so stereotypically rendered or tagged, and there weren't any available black women that were we could even embed into our game. They were also, the difference between white women and black women was about $600, so there wasn't even an option, so we had to make our own. Another problem is that 40% of young black girls choose white girls as their avatars in games because the options when you go and choose your avatars and make them just aren't representative of who they are or who we want to be seen, how we want to be engaging in a game. So we decided to see if we could increase exposure to black women and to their stories and decrease prejudice and bias. So we're doing social, psychological, and cognitive impact research with anthropologists and trying to do mobile fMRI brain imaging to see what kind of response we're getting when you see content that is about and for women of color. So first I'll run through the products. We created, as I spoke a moment ago about the white residue on darker skin, we wanted to create a transparent sunscreen. We imagine that we're going to be flying around the multiverse at some point, and realistically the ozone layer is being depleted, so actually there needs to be some type of protectant for all of us, because it doesn't matter how much natural skin or SPF you have in your skin, there need to be options. And what we found was that the designers of right now are really looking within their narrow kind of body and understand creating depending on what their needs and experiences are, and looking at and not looking at these edge cases. And just because people are brown or black, that doesn't mean they're an edge case, but yet they're not designing for them. So that was the first kind of idea that sparked the rest of the project. Another thing that we wanted to create was looking to microaggressions. Microaggressions, if any of you guys don't know what those are, they are things that women and people of color have to deal with on a pretty much daily basis. So we wanted to create a microaggression deflecting visor, something that when you look at it, it reflects your image back to you. We've had experiences where people have said really out-of-pocket things, and you start wondering, like, are they saying this because I'm brown or because I'm black? Why are they saying this to Ashley? Would they say this to me? And so in this ever-evolving, like, politically weird space that we're in, we wanted something that could like deflect all of that. You can put it down. It's made out of a dichroic material, which inherent in the material, it lets pass through one light and one color of light and then reflects another. So we wanted to create this visor. We also wanted all of our characters to have visors so we wouldn't get into the uncanny valley as they talk to you in the game engine. And we're starting to think about how do we protect ourselves in these like future virtual spaces. Right now you have trolls that are, you know, really, they can be like sending you hate mail or hate tweets or whatever, and how do you protect yourself? So we created this prototype with a woman, AB Screenwear. She's out of New York, and you can wear this, and you also see it in the VR. One of our next products are called the Octavia Electrodes. There's a technology called transcranial stimulation, which is with like really low levels of stimulation can be a brain optimizing technique, and it's being kind of looked at in the quantitative self and the biohacking movements. But right now the technology that exists has to have electrode to scalp contact, and so that really cuts out anybody who's not like bald, and definitely not for anyone with like big hair, even curly hair like myself. So we decided to embed that same technology into extensions so that they could be accessed with braiding techniques. And our idea is that we can access different areas of the brain. And this is kind of where our VR experience happens. You go into a neurocosmetology lab where instead of having a hairdo, you get your brain done. And you meet Brooks, who is the owner and inventor of the Octavia Electrodes, and she takes you to kind of this new world. The next product that we created and prototyped with woman Michelle Cortez is called the RubyCam. This is an audio and video embedded earring that is kind of in the homage to the gold door knocker earring of the 80s and 90s. We see too much that you pull out your phone and it's kind of a weapon. You can put yourself in danger as well as the people that you're filming. And so we wanted to give civilians an alternative tool to start recording, because there's a lot of police cams, but we need to also be accountable for like what's happening. And in whatever situation it is, you can then upload the data to the appropriate police station or agency. And then the last one that we creaed with the privacy artist Adam Harvey is called HyperFace. And we were looking at initially housing our electronics kind of in a head wrap, which is a culturally relevant textile. But then we were playing around with Snapchat, and I don't know if you guys know what Snapchat is, but it's an augmented reality application that can put filters over your face. And so we created a scarf that would trigger computer vision systems by looking at OpenCV's computer vision algorithm and extracting like the most optimum face. So then when you wear this, a computer system not only sees your face, but then sees like 1,000 other faces, and ultimately overloading a system if enough people are wearing them. And then we go into our VR experience. So as I mentioned before, we had not seen any black bodies, any black women in virtual reality before. And we are super huge fans of Afrofuturism, and we wanted to create a world where we could see not only ourselves there, but also create our own laboratories, and then kind of build this world of like knowledge exchange. And we showed this at Sundance, and then we went to South by Southwest, and then Tribeca, but then we also sprinkled in like School of the Art Institute in Chicago, the People's Film Festival in Harlem, Black House Cinema and the Rebuild Foundation, which is created by Theaster Gates. But usually what we would do is we would set up an installation where we would have kind of the gift shop area, which is a display of all of our products, the neurocosmetology salon, which usually had like 3 chairs, and then kind of the brain lab. What we found with virtual reality, especially in the installation, is that it's very important to kind of prime somebody to go into this like VR space. Rather than it just being a black box that you like now are transported to Hawaii, you know that you're going into this like future space, you put on the VR and then you're in this like very familiar yet even future space, and then you go into an even farther space. So this is kind of how we set it up. And every single participant becomes a black woman. So this is one of the very interesting places where all people can engage and start looking at their experience or their understanding of their relationships with black women, or just be black women themselves. And you can put it on and like move side to side, and there's this like moment that you have to ask when you're creating for VR, which is like, why is this happening in VR? Why is this important? Could this be told in like a 2D screen? And at that moment when you realize that like that girl is you in the mirror, it changes entirely your experience. So this is how the virtual salon is set up in our VR experience. And then we take you to this like meta space, and this is where you meet this these like 3 cyborg descendants of Grace Jones, who are our like goddesses, and they tell you that in this world you don't have to live by the constraints of reality. The only limit is really your imagination. And we wanted to do this because as scientists and engineers and architects, we hadn't seen enough women that looked like us that could be our mentors, that could, and we were looking at, there's a woman, her name's Dr. Joanne Berger-Sweeney, and she's the president of Trinity College, and she asked her colleagues, where are all the black women neuroscientists? And we were like, well, if she's having this problem and we're also having this problem, these issues need to be addressed. So we created our own space, we created our own laboratory and kind of our own company where we could do what we wanted to do, and we didn't have to look at or we didn't have to be told how we could interact with this world. So this is kind of, I'll show you in a second. So then going on to our research, we wanted to see what, there really hasn't been any data about what happens in our brains when we're exposed to women of color, black women specifically, and we wanted to see really if we could use VR as a tool to decrease prejudice and bias, because our hypothesis is that we fear that which we don't know. So if we can expose people to more like a broader sense of identity through virtual reality or even film or whatever it is, in a sensitive way, can we, decrease their bias? And so this is our team. We're from all over the world. We collaborate with like 3D artists and motion capture and musicians and artists, dancers, and so thank you. If you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, you can go to nsaf.space. If you'd like to send us an email or get involved, you can go to projects@hyphenlabs.com. And I have 5 minutes, so I'm going to show you kind of what the experience has been like. We made a documentary. Well, a documentary was made, and so I want to just show you guys that. Oh. project really highlights ideas of privacy, security, visibility, perception, and identity, as well as the issues that women of color deal with on a daily basis, and their role in, I'm just going to try to get this full screen, technology, transhumanism, and the future.
The name, NeuroSpeculative AfroFeminism, is kind of one of those points of research. It's a trigger, it's a polarizing name. It's either, oh, what is that? That's awesome, or I don't really want to have anything to do with it.
This was actually my first virtual reality experience ever.
It's been a very unique experience for a lot of people to become and embody this Black woman in a hair salon. We are so familiar with ourselves and what it means to walk through the world through our own eyes.
Me being a man, personally, I didn't know what to expect by sitting, putting myself in a woman's chair and talking to a salon hairstylist.
It's an immersive experience. You put on a headset and you have 360 degrees of intentionality. So the creator has considered the entire space, and you have that undivided attention for 4 minutes. It took me to another world. I think it's hard to distance yourself from something in VR unless you make the conscious decision to not pay attention to what's going on there, or you take off the headset. You are giving something hyper attention, hyper focus.
A lot of times people are coming into the installation. Who built this installation for you? Who did the VR for you? Who imagined the world for you?
I'm a scientist, Carmen's an engineer. The rest of our team, Ajay and Mitsan, are architects.
I actually get a lot of joy by saying, well, we did it.
It honestly made me feel good seeing, as a Black women in virtual reality.
A team of all women designers, I think it brings a specific flavor and spice to it and a different perspective in terms of how they see the world.
To be honest, we weren't in VR 9 months ago, and we just downloaded it on our computer and just started building stuff.
To have a space that looks at the time that we're in and hopefully projects a positive narrative that's inclusive has really struck people from all backgrounds and all ages in a beautiful way.
You are free from the constraints that have been placed on you throughout reality. There is no pain or suffering in this world. The only limit is your imagination.
When I first put the headset on, it's immediately like kind of a cognitive dissonance because you're looking at someone in the mirror that's not you.
And hopefully kind of experience a different reality that ultimately will change yours, I think, once you take the headset off.
Instead of empathy, think of it as mindfulness. You're being mindful, you're completely present in this experience.
Made me think right afterwards, we have to be, more present and aware of the future for everyone, I guess.
I honestly think that it can change lives, just being able to escape your world in a healthy way.
It'll definitely bring people to a specific culture that they probably would have not necessarily been aware of before.
Hear something you may not hear normally, or even be accepted in an environment or not feel like an outsider from somewhere you may not normally be.
And so if they can experience that for themselves, maybe that can open their minds.
Even though it is a singular experience and sometimes only one person can have it at a time, you can still have a collective experience that's a positive experience.
Hey, baby, is this your first time contributing to the synaptic lineage?
I want to continue doing this. This is just the first chapter. We want to keep iterating on this and making it better.
The joy of creating a new world and placing people inside there, it's amazing. So, I don't know, that should drive you forward and encourage you to create.
Bringing it into the community and encouraging people who are kind of at this place of I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where my place is, encourage them to think about, emerging technology or STEM fields or product design as something that they can contribute to.
You have to try it, you have to experiment and see if it's the right way to tell your story, and if it is, then use the medium because the medium will only augment that experience. So we were struggling to get like any type of funding, and it was, I know I'm almost, or I'm done now, but it was super, super hard, but then the last moment Intel came through and made it all possible. So yeah, thank you guys.
Questions?
Yeah.
No questions about virtual reality? Back there?
Tell me a little bit more about the cranial stimulation electrodes. Do they actually